There are Olympic medals and then there are Olympic stories. Today's guest is one of those great Irish sporting stories. Annalise Murphy grew up in a sailing family. Her mother represented Ireland at the Seoul Olympics in 1988. Both of her parents were heavily involved in sailing. And as a 6-year-old, she's been woken in the middle of the night to watch Michelle Smith win Olympic gold. By London 2012, Annalise was on that stage herself. She won the opening 4 races, suddenly had the expectations of a nation on her shoulders, and eventually finished 4th, missing an Olympic medal by just 1 point. 4 years later came Rio. 3 years of preparation, more than 10 trips to train on the Olympic waters, a boat left permanently in Rio so she could practice, an extraordinary level of detail. And on August 18th, my birthday, 2016, 10 years ago this month, she won an Olympic silver. But some of the most fascinating parts of Annalise's story are what's happening inside her head throughout it all. The fear of finishing 4th again, the thought during the final minutes at Rio that winning that gold medal might actually ruin her life, the highs and lows of Tokyo, 9 months racing around the world in the Volvo Ocean Race, and in the challenge so many elite athletes face. What happens when the thing you've dedicated almost your entire life to is no longer there? So before we get into it all, thank you so much for joining us, Annalise. It's an absolute pleasure. Michael is running a little bit late, but welcome to the Sporting Club Ireland podcast.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'll straight away excuse if a Labrador starts howling for no reason or a baby starts screaming. Baby is asleep. Labrador is intermittently barking. She's 14 years old and she doesn't even realize she's barking. I think she just thinks she's having a snooze. But that's the chaos of living in my parents' basement while we renovate the house we bought.
Well, look, if we have a special guest of a Labrador or a little baby, we'd be delighted to do so. I was actually at Up Your Game earlier in the year when you had some pretty famous people mind your baby on that day. That'll be some story in a few years' time.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Roy Keane minding my baby. Although by the time she's old enough, she'll probably be, these are all like for us, like sporting legends that we've grown up with. But with her, she'll be like, who's this guy? Why did you leave me with a stranger?
yeah. Well, honestly, I thought it was an incredible story. I don't know if it was your story or Devil O'Rourke's. I saw just on the day, and I was like, that is just incredible. So that was brilliant, and what a day that was, to be fair. So look, I want to actually start with right now rather than Rio. So like, you've had your daughter, you're on maternity leave, you get back into the laser for the first time since Tokyo, enter the nationals almost for the crack, and you won them. And now you've entered the World Championships in Dún Laoghaire, and you just told me before we came on that your parents were potentially maybe meant to help you around that time, but they're both heavily involved. So, Annalise, what on earth are you doing?
It's I think I'm definitely, there's days where I'm like, this is class, and then there's days where I'm like, this is mad what I'm trying to do. I'm just wrecked. Felt like I was up all last night. I'm still breastfeeding my baby, which it's an amazing thing to be able to do, but also there's nights where they decide they want to drink milk all night, and you're wondering, like, is this actually good for my sanity? But yeah, well, I knew there was basically the Laser World Championships. They were meant to be on in Spain this year, and something happened with the organisers and they were going to cancel. So I'm in a WhatsApp group, so I knew before they'd actually been officially cancelled that they were probably going to not be happening in Spain. Yeah. And my parents would be heavily involved in trying to bring major sailing events to Dún Laoghaire. They've managed to bring. They had the Under-21 World Championships last year. They've had lots of events, Youth World Championships, different things through the years. They had the European Championships in 2013. But a big ticket item is the World Championships, particularly in an Olympic class. And actually, except for the laser men, they were in Cork in 2001. And then the women, there's actually never been a women's Olympic class World Championship in Ireland. So a huge deal. So anyway, I gave my dad a heads up. I was like, you should put in a bid, because I think the Spanish sort of city that is bidding for them is going to pull out. So that was what happened. And then in my mind, I was like, oh, if the Worlds came to Dublin, I'd love to go. I'd love to get back in the boat to sail them.
Yeah.
But then I got pregnant, and then I had hyperemesis through my pregnancy, which is like severe nausea and vomiting. And very quickly, I stopped thinking about anything except sort of surviving day to day. It was pretty nasty, just generally feeling like I was going to die for about 3 months.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
did get better, but the whole pregnancy was pretty rough. So sailing was completely off the cards. And then I thought, oh, maybe I could get back into the boat a little bit while I'm on maternity leave, completely oblivious to what minding a baby is like. So no chance to go sailing. I was full time with my baby stuck on to me for the whole year. And then in July, I was like, oh, the weather's lovely. Maybe I'll just go for a sail. And I brought my boat down to Dún Laoghaire, rigged it up with all sorts of, couldn't find any of my bits and pieces, but it was, I think the sail I'd actually given to one of my friends to use as a garden sunshade. So completely wrecked, and it had been stretched into a whole new sort of shape. But I went out in the water and I was like, oh, this is lovely. I was like, maybe I'll do the nationals. And yeah, did the nationals. And then sailing does sometimes reward lack of training because you're very clear with your decision making, and also the fact that I knew I didn't have the boat speed or the fitness for the boat meant I had to make correct decisions on the race
Yeah.
course.
Wow.
And then
Wow.
I am fit from I do a lot of bike racing as well, so I knew like I had fitness, just not sailing specific fitness. And
Wow.
yeah, nationals went really well, and then I thought, oh, maybe I should give the Worlds a shot. And that's been what I've been doing for the last month since nationals finished, trying to get out in the water as much as possible, which is also very challenging. But yeah, it's purely, there's no pressure on me. I'm doing this because I love the sport, and I actually think the big takeaway I'm able to take from this is after Tokyo, I was so disappointed. I haven't really sailed much since. It was kind of a really crap way to end my career with a bad performance at the Olympics, and I just kind of lost the love for the boat of it. And being able to get back into the boat over the last 5 or 6 weeks has made me remember how much I enjoy actually being out on the water. And I feel like if nothing else, that's been great. You know, being able to go and be like, oh, I actually, you do. You've sometimes when you have a bad experience in sport, you kind of associate the whole sport and your whole life with that bad experience. And if nothing else, I've remembered that I love being out on the water. And yeah, hopefully I won't get my ass completely kicked now in a week's time.
Yeah, I really don't expect you will. No, that it's amazing, really. And look, my wife went through a similar pregnancy, and she's still breastfeeding her 3-year-old, but she's not an elite athlete. So it's incredible what you guys do. I think it's amazing, and obviously I saw a quote of yours. You love racing, you love being on the water, and look, maybe do you think this is the happiest version of Annalise Murphy as a sailor? Just the pressure's off a little, and you can just get out there and enjoy it, as you said.
Yeah, I can just get out and enjoy it. I've definitely had a reality check over the last few weeks because a lot of the sort of best female sailors in the world have been training in Dublin to get used to the waters before the World Championships. I've been racing with them a bit, and it's a different level when you're racing against people that sail probably, I don't know, 250 to 300 days a year. They're getting paid to sail.
Yeah,
Their livelihood depends on results, so they only get their sponsorship or their funding if they get results. It's
yeah,
very different to the Irish National Championships where the standard, it's good, but it's not the elite world level that so yeah, I've definitely be made realize just how rusty I am around the boat. Again, it's good that I still know I'm able to make good decisions on the race course, but I'm lacking a bit of the boat speed that these top girls, that it's their job, and I can't expect to not sail for 5 years and then get back in the boat and be the same level as them. But it's also been nice to have a few okay races here and there, and also just catch up with people. And then for me, it's not, I guess, when I was full-time sailing, it kind of felt a little bit like life or death, which is
yeah,
comical to me because I'm just delighted. I'm like, I have 2 hours on the water here where Juliet isn't trying to pull all the hairs out of my head.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's a completely different thing. It's like this, like 2 hours of like headspace for myself, rather than for them. It's 2 hours of like intense. I need to do as well as possible. So yeah, and yeah, it's been great to sort of see a lot of people that I used to be on the Olympic circuit with me. They're now coaching, so it's been nice to bump into some of the guys that are they've now moved on from elite sailing to, I guess, elite coaching, and bumping into them and chatting to them and asking them how they're getting on, and finding
yeah.
out what they're doing in their lives.
It's brilliant. It sounds almost relaxing. I suppose when you are, I suppose when you have a child, and life does change. There's different pressures, and you don't have as much me time, and even even when you play, I say this a lot. I've said it in every podcast, but like, you're the 1% or maybe less that makes it to the elite level of sport. I represent the other 99 point whatever that unfortunately didn't. But most of us love to play sport, and even at kind of the lower level, it can be life or death, and it was life or death for me as well. Even playing, just your junior, senior rugby, whatever, intermediate championships, I can only imagine what it must be like, the mental torment and everything else that goes with it when you're on, the international stage, everyone's watching you, even nation, the pressure of a nation on you. Like, that must have been very demanding. And I suppose our mind can be our greatest asset, but it can also be your greatest enemy. So what was that like?
Yeah, I think it's a very good point. When I was a teenager, I was sailing because I love being out on the water. I'm competitive, so I love doing well, but it was all just like bonuses, particularly when I started sailing at a senior level. I'd have a good event. I'd be like, oh, this is class. I
Yeah,
want to get this feeling again. And,
yeah,
you start to do better, be like, I just came 20th. Yeah, that's so good. And then it'd be like, next event, I want to come in the top 15. And
yeah,
I guess I had like really good trajectory from, I guess, when I was 19 to 22, where I was just making steps all the time, just getting better. I had, like, you obviously have, everyone has like small setbacks, which at the time seemed like the end of the world. But
yeah,
in general, I was always getting better and better, like always improving, getting better results, starting to win medals at World Cups, starting to challenge for medals at sort of World and European Championships. And then, the London Olympics came around and I was a medal contender for them. And it was all just fun. And then between
yeah,
London and Rio, I put so much emphasis on, like, that I had to win a medal, and then it actually all started to unravel and go horribly wrong until it got to the point in Rio where I'd actually kind of hit rock bottom, and you could only really go up from there. And again, I was in Rio, I was enjoying myself, and I think that was how it ended up sort of going so well for me. But then in Tokyo again, I let the whole pressure build up, and I was only there to go and get a gold medal. I was putting my life on hold, to do this, like the kind of stupid things that you think when you're doing it. And I just wasn't getting any enjoyment out of it. And then when I stopped sailing and I started bike racing, it brought me back to remembering how enjoyable sport can be, just to compete without that sort of crippling
yeah.
pressure that you feel. And everyone's different, but I definitely didn't do well under pressure. um, there was so many events where I had chances to win, do very well. Like, I probably should, if I was a little bit better at dealing with pressure, I probably would have two gold medals and definitely a better performance in Tokyo. But instead, I have a fourth, a second, and an 18th place.
Oh,
So
yeah,
yeah, I think that's the thing. Like, you'll always see the people that are doing best in sport. They look relaxed and like they're enjoying
yeah,
themselves. They're very focused, but
yeah,
there's a sense of, they don't look stressed and uptight. And
yeah.
like, there's, in any aspect of life, whatever you're doing, if you're trying to do a good job of it, if you're stressed and uptight, you're probably not going to be able to do as good a job as you should be.
100%. And look, it was probably almost an obsession. I'm watching Pep Guardiola go, yeah, Pep's beautiful obsession. But no matter what you're doing, as you said, the harder you try, sometimes the more difficult things become, and everything. It seems the domino effect of things going wrong, and I completely agree with you. The people who go out in any sport on a pitch anywhere that look relaxed, they generally perform quite well. So no, I do try and get into all your heads, at that level, what it must be like. Like I can't imagine it. The pressure, the anxiety, everything, the build up. It just and to be able to perform in any way is incredible. So no, I have the utmost respect for everyone that performs to their sport at an elite level. But I was going to bring it back to the start. So like, look, sailing wasn't a random sport in your life. Your mum Kathy was an Olympian, and both your parents were sailors. So there was a realistic chance you were going to get into a boat. Um, I believe one of the podcasts I listened to, you got up in the middle of the night watching Michelle Smith. So Olympics then became a dream. So when and I'm repeating some questions that were asked to you probably a million times, but when did sailing come into your life? And I suppose when did it start looking like that it could be a job for you?
Yeah. So I guess my mum, like she actually grew up in Mexico City. My grandfather was had a job there working for the International Civil Aviation Authority. Um, so that was she she went to the 1968 Olympics as a
Oh,
spectator in Mexico, which is quite cool. And
wow, that is really good.
she's like, I want to go to the Olympics. And her dad introduced her to the Irish equitation team, because he knew a lot of them kind of through army connections and stuff like that. So she went and watched the show jumping, and it's kind of cool that it was
Yeah.
like that far back. And then actually her dad passed away when she was quite young, and so she moved back to Ireland. Her brothers and sisters were in school and university in Dublin. So that was how she ended up getting into sailing then, because her sister's friend was a member of the sailing club and was like, Kathy, you should try sailing. And then that's how my mum and dad met, was through sailing.
Wow.
And when the women's there was the 1988 Olympics was the first time they had women's a specific class for women in sailing. Up until then, there was, you technically could go, but you would have to beat your male counterpart to go to the Olympics. So it's funny, like it wasn't that long ago that there basically wasn't women sailing at the Olympics.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I guess I started sailing with my parents pretty young, like 3 or 4 would go out in the boat with them, and just out in the water. They sailed in Blessington Lake. They had a type of catamaran called a hurricane. So we'd just go blasting around Blessington. That was what we did every Sunday from as far as I can remember. And then I think I was 10 when I got my first boat, and I went and did one of the junior courses in Dún Laoghaire, and I just loved it. Like
Yeah.
sailing is, if you get the opportunity to get your kids into it, it teaches you so much, because you have to learn how to steer a boat, problem solve. You're on your own. You're trying to figure out the wind. Like there's so much going on.
Yeah.
There's very few other things in the world where you're going to let well, I was 10, but there's 6 and 7 year olds doing it, just being sent out
Yeah.
on a boat on their own and figuring things out. And yeah, I love that I could just head off my boat around the harbour, go wherever I wanted. It's like you're giving a 10-year-old a car. Off you go now.
Yeah.
You go wherever you
Wow.
want.
Wow.
And yeah, I loved it from the get go. And I don't think I wasn't particularly good. I was then annoyed with my mum that she hadn't got me into it sooner, because I realized all of my mates had been doing it since they were 6 or 7 in their own boats. I'd been sailing with my mum and dad, but they never actually kind of taught me how to sail. They were just like, pull this rope, pull that rope. Kind of how I teach my husband to sail. I'm like, pull that green rope there. Like he doesn't actually know any of the concept of it. He just knows he needs to pull that rope. So
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
same. And then I was frustrated. I was like, why didn't you get me into this sooner? Like all my mates are way better than me, because they've been sailing for like 3 years on their own, and I haven't. So yeah, I definitely wasn't a child prodigy or anything, but I probably started taking things more seriously in transition year. It gave me an
Okay.
opportunity to get out in the water a lot more. Irish Sailing had just hired Rory Fitzpatrick to be the coach for the under 18 um, squad that was called the Youth Academy. He'd done the Athens Olympics in the laser, and then he went and he got a job selling mortgages at the height of the Celtic Tiger, and he did it for about a year and decided this wasn't for him, and so got back into sailing. So I was really lucky, like right place,
Wow.
right time.
Yeah.
A coach that was going to be in Dún Laoghaire that was going to be able to go out in the water with me lots.
Amazing.
And yeah, and then I had a group of good friends that were also in transition year. So suddenly I had this group that I was able to go sailing with. We'd go on Wednesdays after school and then every weekend. And you get better because you're pushing yourself. You know, it's always when you're with other people, you figure out how to do things faster and you improve a lot. And yeah, I improved pretty steadily over my sort of youth career up until under 18s. I think in my last year in youths, I finished fifth at the Youth Worlds and fourth at the Youth Europeans, which I was delighted with. Like in hindsight, I remember Rory being kind of annoyed because I probably had chances to win medals, but in my mind, I was like, oh, I'm not like, I'm happy with these. You know, they're good results. And that was my 6th year holiday, was driving around Europe with 3
Wow.
lasers on the back of the car.
Fantastic.
I just passed my driving test. Passed my driving test, did my leaving cert, and the day after I finished, I think I had physics, so it was quite long. I packed up the boats and drove off to Europe.
Amazing.
And yeah, like looking back, my parents must have been very trusting in me, like driving a car in Europe, like no GPS. I don't even think I might have had an ATM card. I definitely didn't have a credit card. Like it was,
Wow.
every time I need to pay for something, I'd have to find an ATM, get money out, and then go and like be paying for petrol with cash and stuff like that.
Amazing. Yeah, different times.
Yeah, it
I
was.
don't. I don't think I'd be letting Poppy or Dahi head off around Europe just after they're leaving cert. But no, that's fantastic. So, look, I'll be honest, right? Sailing only came onto my radar in 2012. So my mother, rest in peace, she was following you, and she continued to do so. So I watched some of your big races with her. As you do, you follow what your parents do, and some of her heroes were yourself, Rachel Blackmore, Nina Carberry, stuff like that. So I continue to follow your progress. So that's when sailing, I came across sailing. Prior to that, I'd only ever heard of David Wilkins. So I'm like many people, I probably misconceived. I thought sailing was only for the rich and that you had to be super rich to sail. So I have learned in the meantime that is not the case. So I was a bit ignorant at the time. So I've never sailed, but you then come on the scene, and because my mother was your fan, then I was a huge fan. But when you were growing up, Claudine, your sister, she was also an accomplished sailor. And like, I've heard some great stories about the sibling rivalry, all that kind of good stuff growing up. And we all know about sibling rivalry. But there was a time when you were asked to draw out where you saw yourself in 10 years. And I thought this was fantastic. What she drew was being a doctor, a house, all sorts of things. And what you drew was one thing. And you might tell us what that is. And most will know, but some won't.
Yeah. We were getting into awful fights. She was sort of one of the top sailors in the country, and then I saw where she was at, and I was like, I need to get to that level, and I was very focused to try and get to her level. Like in hindsight, I just wanted to beat her, but in my mind, I was like, I just want to get as good as her, And
Yeah.
so we were like fighting out in the water, and like Mum was just like, these girls are a pain in my hole. Like she'd drive us over to England to do these UK qualifiers, and you'd be driving all night, getting the ferry across, driving all night, staying on some random beach. We had a camper van, so we'd be parked up, and then we go racing, and then we'd be fighting around the race course. So she got this. She was actually a sailor, but she was kind of working more in sort of sports psychology and
Okay.
sort of coaching and things like. And she's called Kathy Foster, and she came over for a weekend to Dún Laoghaire. And it actually ended up being way too windy for us to go sailing, so we did a lot of sort of mental skills and mental stuff. And one of the things, well, first of all, she said, like, you girls, you need to see each other as training partners and to try and improve each other. She's like, you guys should be called Sister Pro, like not not be enemies and trying to take each other down. You should be trying to improve each other. So
Yeah.
it was nearly a joke. We used to go Sister Pro in kind of an English accent. It did. It was like it can be such small things, when someone just points out blindingly obvious to you. And then the next thing she got these big A2 or A1 sheets of paper, and she's like, draw out how you see your future. And I guess this was in 2007, so I would have been 17 and my sister was 20. And I drew a podium with myself standing on top of it. And my sister, yeah, she drew loads of stuff. She's like, my sister's amazing. Like, she's got so many friends, and she's so good, like so good to all her friends. You know, she wanted to be a doctor. She wanted to have a house. She wanted to have a family. She wanted to have all her friends. She wanted to go sailing. She wanted to go to the Olympics. And she, like, in fairness, she actually achieved a lot of those goals.
Wow.
Well, it probably, to get to the Olympics, you probably can't have, or I know some people that somehow seem to do it all, but I found that the only way I could have done it was the way I did it, which was single-mindedly. It's all that mattered, and you know, that was it. And well, my sister, she is a doctor. She does have a house. She has two gorgeous little kids. Yeah, it's actually great. We've our two little girls are only 4 months apart, so we're already planning out their future sporting career, trying to decide what can they do that's like doubles, you know. So it's in sailing there is the women's two-handed boat, but then I'm also looking, there's like sprint kayaking also has a two-person, so you're trying to find things, you're like, what could they be good at that the two of them can do together.
Wow. Oh, wow. That's amazing. And amazing. So obviously a very successful family. That's brilliant. So was maybe that the point where the Olympics was something to Annalise Murphy, no longer what other people did, but what you were going to do? You seemed laser focused. That was it. That's my dream. I'm getting there.
Yeah, it probably wasn't until the 2008 I went to the World Championships in New Zealand in they were on in April 2008, so pretty close to my leaving cert. My leaving cert was whatever, start of June. So I went over to New Zealand for nearly 4 weeks. I did the women's senior world championships as a sort of as an 18-year-old, and still technically youth, and then I did the youth world championships 2 weeks later. And I, at the senior world championships, I was getting to see all these girls who like were my heroes qualify for the Olympics. For some of them it was their final country trial, because also the way sailing works is only one person. First of all, you have to qualify your nation for a place at the Olympics, but then only one person gets to go in that spot. So there was two American girls, Anna Tunnicliffe and Paige Rayleigh, and Paige Rayleigh had been kind of my hero as a teenager, because she'd won like 2 world championships in a row. She was sort of a child protege. But then this other girl, Anna Tunnicliffe, came on the scene and there was this huge rivalry. And I remember Anna ended up winning the trials over Paige, and but I got to talk to Paige and realized that she was just a normal person like me.
Yeah.
You know, that was kind of cool. Like, you always think when you see these people as a teenager, and you idolize them and you think that they're something different, but then you get to meet them, you realize they're just normal, nice people. They're obviously very talented, but it's that realization that you don't need to be some kind of godly figure to be the best at your sport. And and I was like, I came home from New Zealand and I was like, I want to go to the Olympics. I'm going to the 2012 Olympics. Also Ciara Pilo had just qualified Ireland. She actually only qualified on the last day, and then was going to the Beijing Olympics. And I'm still great friends with Ciara to this day. So, and then also Debbie Hanna, who was the other Irish representative, like just missed out over Ciara as well, which was, these were two girls that I really looked up to. And it was hard to see, like, first of all, Ciara, who was so happy because she was going to go to the Olympics, and then Debbie, who'd worked so hard and was so disappointed because she wasn't going. But it made me I was like, this is what I want to do. And sure, I came home and sure, I was like, leaving cert, bleh, I'm going to the Olympics this time.
Wow. The Labrador has rejoined the conversation. Beautiful.
Sorry about that.
No, it's class. I think it's great. But see, you then became one of those people that people now would say, gee, Annalise is just a normal person, that elite athlete who's doing everything. So it's kind of like a 360 moment where you've become that person that, when people meet you, I'm sure they go home and say, wow, she's so nice, she's so lovely, she's just so normal. And you know what the funny thing is, most people like you and most elite sports people, actually, when you actually get to have a conversation with them, they're just normal people. And from the outside, sometimes that's kind of hard to remember because they're in the limelight. You know, obviously the Premiership soccer players, they get paid so much money. You don't meet as many of them. But the rugby guys and all the people you see on the TV, you do probably create a persona around them that, you know, they must be invincible, superhuman, or, you know, they're different. But at the end of the day, you are all just human beings. You've all got a beating heart. You've all got a mind that challenges you, and you're all just trying to get on with your everyday life.
Exactly. I could kill Jasmine, except that she's very old. She is 14. I think she's just. You'd go up to her now, and she'd be like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?"
Does she want to make an appearance on the podcast?
Oh God, this is not happening to any of a 14-year-old Labrador just barking for no reason. She's been on a walk as well today. I wouldn't have minded if she's. It's not even like she's just giving out for no reason. But
there you go.
I do think. Yeah, I think. Sure, I'd be. You know, when I meet sports stars, I think particularly people that you see on the TV, you do get starstruck because you're like, it's, you know, it's something. You're like, hi, how's it going? I think you're great. Yeah, I think
I'm not normally awkward.
Yeah, I think probably. I do also wonder, is it the different levels of like professional sports? Like if you're just, you know, like a footballer and you're earning millions and millions. Like nearly a week, like, you know.
Yeah, it is crazy.
I feel like you're probably living a very different life. Well, if you're an Olympic athlete where you're not earning any money at all, and you're trying to get sponsors to help you pay for your flights and accommodation and entry fees, it's very different. It definitely keeps you quite humble. Like it's you're doing your sport because you love it and you have this dream of trying to, you know, compete at the Olympics. You're not. I don't think there's any Irish Olympic athlete that's doing it to try and make the big bucks, because it's definitely not the place to make the big bucks. And you're doing it because you want to try and achieve something, and you have this dream. And I think that is, you know, in sport, it's like people, they have this dream or this goal that they want to get to, and it's probably like, I've so much respect for every Olympic athlete that tries to go to the Olympics, gets the Olympics, performs really well at the Olympics, because it is such a graft, and it is, you do also have to accept that, you know, you're doing something amazing, but you're putting a big chunk of your life into something that's not going to financially reward you and is actually going to hinder you in life. Like I only started into a pension this year. Now I'm on unpaid maternity leave, so I'm not getting a pension again. So that's the reality. I'm 36. It's like, you know, that's you kind of suddenly realize, like, oh, I probably will never be able to retire because I'm not going to have enough money to retire. And I also, I wouldn't ever take it away from, you know, the experience, the life experiences you get, and you've got such a small window to do this, to be an elite athlete. Like you can't be, you know, at 50 be like, I think I'm going to give the old Olympics a shot and be an elite athlete. Although actually in sailing, there was an Argentinian, Santi Lang, who did win his last Olympic gold medal at 54. So, but he won many before that. But it's generally, you know, you've got a small window in your life, and I'm always telling young athletes that want to do it and are talented, like, go for it, give it a shot. Like, you know, if it works out well for you, you might get to do this for 10 years and get an amazing 10 years. Like, it'll be tough 10 years, but, you know, you'll learn so many life lessons over it. And if it doesn't work out, you're still going to learn so many lessons over the period you do it for, that it's going to set you up so well to whatever the next thing you do in life. And I find that with loads of the girls and guys that I've sailed with over the years that maybe haven't made it to the Olympics, whatever they've ended up going on to do, they've been so successful. Like, you know, a few of them are CEOs of big companies, or they're doing really well. Like, you know, it does, doing sport, it gives you that discipline and that drive that very few other things do. And it also teaches you how to win and lose, and it teaches you that you're probably going to lose quite a lot, but to pick yourself back up and get going again. And there's, like, in nothing else really, you get those lessons.
Yeah. Wow. So by the way, anyone listening, Annalise Murphy is a wonderful corporate speaker, and so she is available for gigs. But just where you say that, Mark English actually what he did recently as a doctor was very impressive, because I actually couldn't think. I was trying to think of examples of people that I know for a fact, are working, or because, as you said, you're giving up everything, literally everything, and you rely on the sponsors, the funding, everything like that. Like, and I thought it was a glamorous lifestyle again until the last few years, till I heard stories, and you realize, wow, it's actually quite difficult, and you really do rely on those sponsors, and you need the help to kind of make it to the level, because you're not making €1 million. In fact, you're not really making any euro. So it is 100% for the love of the game, and the mindset again. I go back to have to continue with that. It's incredible. Now, thankfully, you've had the success, the recognition, and all that good stuff. Not everyone gets that, so like, it's easier to keep going when you are successful. But yeah, again, I just commend everybody who goes to the Olympics, and I suppose almost an amateur sport when you have to fight tooth and nail just to survive, so you can pay your bills and continue to compete at the highest level. So I wanted to ask you a question, Annalise. So, like, people understand running, the fastest person wins. They understand football, you score more goals. Rugby, score more tries. Can you explain elite sailing to me like I'm a complete idiot, which I probably am, my wife would say? What separates an Olympic winning sailor from a very good sailor?
It's like, explain this to me like I'm a golden retriever.
Yeah, exactly. Let the two of us listen. Yeah.
That line from that movie.
Yeah.
Explain this to me like I'm a golden retriever or a 3-year-old child.
Yeah. I can be either.
I think one of the comparisons I always use for sailing is golf, because a lot of people watch golf and understand golf, and then if you don't understand golf, I'm like, oh, okay, I have to come in. But golf is ran over 4 days, well, except for the live, but I think that might be coming to an end anyway. So over 4 days, 18 holes a day over 4 days, and it's the player who has the lowest score at the end of those 4 days is the overall winner. And they do it over 4 days because you're probably going to get different weather conditions. It's also, you're going to get different pressures. If you've got a really good first couple of days, there's going to be a lot more pressure on you to perform well on the other days. And there's also the opportunities to catch back up. That's golf. And then sailing, similar enough. The regattas are ran over 5 or 6 days, depending on what it is. So World Championships are ran over 6 days, and it's a low point scoring system as well. So you do your first race. If you finish first, you get 1 point. If you finish 40th, you get 40 points. And so that's how it works. So over the week, you build up points, and then you're also allowed to discard your worst race. It's to help sailors, like things like, let's say it's really windy and you break a mast. You actually won't get penalized so badly. You get to discard that race, or you can make a complete mess of it, which a lot of time happens in sailing, and you get to discard it. It's obviously only get to get rid of one race, but it just gives a bit of wiggle room for equipment failure or mistakes to happen or things like that. And then at the end of the regatta, there's basically your whatever points you're on, the lowest person on the lowest points win. And it's ran over that amount of days, so that it's the sailor that's the best across the range of conditions ends up winning, not someone like, I could go out on one day and I'd be the best in the world in, say, 20 knots, which is very windy. And if you just have 1 day's racing and 20 knots, well, I'm going to go out and I'm going to win. Yeah. But that's not necessarily the best sailor. The best sailor is the person who can go out on the 20 knot day and maybe have a third and a fifth, and then on the light wind day they have a second and a fourth. And it's all about consistency and being the best across everything, rather than being an expert in one particular area.
That was brilliantly explained. So it's golf on water. No, I'm joking. That was brilliantly explained. I learned that over the last couple of years, but not everyone would know how the scoring system works in sailing. So thank you very much for that. And you described sailing as, I think, tactics, strategy, and confidence. Which one of those mattered most for you? Or all three, probably.
Probably confidence. I definitely don't have that much confidence in myself or my abilities, and I always know that was what held me back. That fear, fear that I wasn't good enough. And it's funny, like, I've talked to some of my friends who I competed against, who I held them on such high pedestals, And they actually kind of did the same for me. And, but in my mind, I was like, but I was crap compared to you, that kind of way. So yeah, confidence was a huge thing for me, and it would take me a long time to build confidence, like months and months of consistently good results and training really well and feeling like everything, having this feeling. I was like, it's sort of nearly like that I was in this flow that everything came easy to me. Then it was great. But all it would take would be one bad day and I'd be like, I'm the worst in the world. I shouldn't be I
Wow.
shouldn't be doing this. And I definitely got better as I got older. I worked a lot with irrational, am I being emotional or irrational, or am I actually being rational here? And quite often I'd be emotional and irrational. I'd have a bad race. I'm crap. I'm the worst sailor in the world. Why am I doing this? I'm wasting everyone's time here. That kind of thing. Um,
Wow.
and I'm sure like loads of athletes go through this as well. It's
Yeah.
just this roller coaster of highs and lows. I always think one of my, I guess, assets was that I was very good with tactics and strategy. But then something else that held me back was because I'm quite tall, I'm 6 foot. I was always a bit too heavy for the boat, so I was always trying to be lighter.
Okay.
But I'd always nearly use that as an excuse. If it was light winds, I'd feel I'd nearly be giving up before I'd go out because I'd be like, oh, well, I'm a few kilos heavier than everyone, so I'm going to be slower today. But then I'd sail kind of defeated as well. I'd go out and I'd have bad starts or I wouldn't do the right thing. And quite often, like, that would be the reason I'd have a bad day. It wouldn't be because I'd be a couple of kilos heavier.
Yeah, 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 of
uh,
course.
yeah, it's, you can, that hand, that was what I was given. Being taller also gave me a huge advantage. It meant I was really athletic. When it was windy, I had so much more leverage than my competitors to be able to pull the boat down, to be able to go faster. So, everything, what everyone's strengths will also be like some kind of weakness to them, and whoever you're competing against, they'll have strengths and weaknesses. But it's yeah, it's sport is it just strips you back to like
Yeah,
everything that's makes everything is hard, and
yeah.
but also very worth doing.
100%. No, no. It's like it's interesting to hear someone like you say that you struggle a bit with confidence. I have to say, and I'm sure many athletes in the various sports do. I suppose again, going back to the mind when you're alone with your thoughts and all that kind of stuff, it can sometimes get a bit overbearing. And from the outside, I just assume you all ooze confidence. Do you know what I mean? Because we're not inside your head. We don't know what you're thinking. And sometimes in your best moments, maybe you're having loads of doubts and we don't see that. And I find it fascinating because as human beings, we all have doubts. Like not everyone admits them, but everyone has doubts. And in everyday life, you have doubts. So again, I just find that fascinating. Someone who achieves so much lacked confidence. So last one before I quickly move to London. So would you say to win a race, and this might sound like a silly question, but if you make the most best decisions over the 4 days, have you a good chance of winning the race? I'm just trying to get my own understanding for that when I'm watching again. Like, so if you make I suppose, yeah, if you don't make that many bad decisions over the 4 days, will you win? Does that make sense? I might ask that badly.
Yeah, possibly, but then someone else might make really good decisions as well.
Oh, yeah.
That's the thing. It's in sailing, you're dealing with so many other competitors that you can go and do all the right stuff, but someone else can do all the right stuff, but a little bit better as well.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
um, so it's just, again, it's a consistency thing. It's being able to, I guess that's with sailing. It's being able to back it up day after day. That's where you end up on top. And it's also because points are so important. It's the sailors that are having a bad race and manage to salvage it. They're maybe coming 25th and they manage to get back to 11th.
Gotcha.
Like 11th might still in their mind not be a good result, but it's actually huge on points. Like that's,
Gotcha. Yeah.
14 points. Like, well, you win 4 races, you only get 4 points. It's like, but you've managed to salvage that much. So that's like, I always thought like some of like the best sailors that I raced against, they weren't the ones that were winning races all the time. So they were the ones that were really good at making comebacks when they were having a bad race and salvaging races. And it was probably something I wasn't so good at. like when I'd be having a bad race, it generally was going to be a bad race.
Yeah.
Well, at competitors, they'd be having a bad race, and they just I don't know if it was they had this drive, or they had this talent, but they'd be able to just claw their way back and pick off places they went around and turn a bad race into, like, we'd call them counters. Like, it's, it's an okay race, because it is, the person who wins the regatta probably is going to average a fourth or a fifth in every race over the week. That's actually going to be their average score. They're not going to
Yeah.
average a first in every single race. It's
Yeah.
it's the person. It's similar to golf. It's the person who gets a lot of pars and a good few birdies. It's not the person who's going to eagle every single hole. It's that's it's the consistency thing, and
Brilliant.
that's what it comes down to, is being fighting for every point, because they are actually very important.
Thank you so much for the rescue with that brilliant answer. We'll put that down as my 14-year-old Labrador question and my training wheels as a podcaster. But yeah, no, in my head, the question sounded so much better. But anyways, I should have practiced it. Okay, so want to get to London. I won't keep you that much longer. And obviously Rio. So you arrive 22 years old. You win the first 4 races. Then, everyone's watching in Ireland. What did that feel like, I suppose, in your head? I know we've talked about the head a few times, but how did that pressure, how did it feel?
Yeah, I think it's like, that's one of the biggest lessons I've always had in life is, I just straight away started thinking about the end result. Like, up until that point, it was one race at a time, and then suddenly I started thinking about the gold medal. And in reality, what I should have done is, I've just given myself an amazing head start here on everyone else. I've still got 7 more races to go. A lot can happen, and like I said, you can go out into a race and get 40 points. So
Yeah, yeah,
it's but I guess I was really young, and it was also a dream situation. It was a bit like, going out and winning the first 4 races is very hard to do in sailing. It's a sport of consistency. You're not going to win all the races. So to do it was nearly like a dream situation. But, I dreamt about going and winning all the races, but it's not going to happen. So when I was winning them all, it was, I started to think about things. I started to focus on the end result. And it's what I'm always saying to kind of sailors is, one race at a time, one race at a time, because that's what it is. It's one race at a time. It's because you can gain so many points so quickly by having a bad race, that you can't start thinking about the end result. And in London, I still sailed really well for the rest of the week, but unfortunately I had 3 competitors that stepped up to the mark. And they sailed exceptionally well also. And I nearly felt hard done by, because I'd sailed well enough. If I'd been in the men's fleet, my results would have guaranteed me at least a silver medal. Well, in the women's fleet, just because 3 other people had also sailed exceptionally well, I knew that I could get anywhere from first to fourth.
wow,
I think I probably
yeah,
fixated on the fear of finishing fourth as well. And rather than going out and seeing the opportunity I had in front of me, I had this massive opportunity to win an Olympic medal. And, it was a very small chance of finishing fourth, but all I thought about was that possibility of finishing fourth. And I was so afraid of it. And I was afraid to even vocalize it, that
yeah,
I was terrified. I didn't tell anyone. I just didn't really speak, just retreated into myself. And I guess also, Rory, my coach, it was new ground for everyone. Kate, Kirby, my sports psych, like, we were all, it was all our first time kind of being in this situation where an Olympic gold medal was on the cards, and probably none of us knew how to deal with it.
of course.
Um,
Like,
I guess then I also look back and go, that was the lessons I learned in London were what put me in the position I was in Rio to be able to win a medal. I wonder if I had won a gold medal in London. Part of me thinks, like, maybe I never would have won a medal in Rio, because I wouldn't have put in the hard work that was needed to win that gold medal. But then there's another part of me being like, maybe I would have had so much confidence and would have been like, I'm the best. I would have just gone on and been like the best for you.
yeah,
But
yeah,
it's,
wow,
in sailing, quite often the person who finishes fourth in Olympics comes back and wins a medal the next time round. Tonci, the Croatian, he also finished fourth in London, and he won a silver medal in Rio. He actually went on and won a silver medal in Tokyo as well. So
wow,
it's, yeah, it, it's it's really tough at the time, but
Yeah.
you learn, this is the thing, you learn so much from those moments. Like that's it, it defines who you be as a person. Can you pick yourself back up and try and get better, or do you just quit and go, this is too hard? So it's I don't
Yeah.
I still think it would be very nice to put won a gold medal in London, but I also think
Yeah.
coulda, shoulda, coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Yeah.
But I think in life that's always the case. Oh, if I'd only done this, if I'd only done that. But you have to live with your decisions and what you've done, and yeah. And then I guess 4 years later in Rio, I was in this position where I saw the opportunity I had to win an Olympic medal, and I was still shitting myself, but I wasn't afraid of finishing fourth. I was like, if I go out and sail my best, and people sail better than me, and I finish fourth, like it's gonna be a sad time, but
Yeah.
it's that it is what it is. But in London, I was so afraid I couldn't actually sail properly, and that was what was upsetting. I didn't go out and sail my best. If I'd gone out and sailed my best and finished fourth, I think it would have been easier to take. But I went out and I froze in the boat, like I looked like a beginner sailing the boat, and that's I was still fighting, but it wasn't it wasn't a performance that I could be like, yeah, I gave it everything. It was a performance of someone who was afraid of losing. So yeah.
Yeah. Wow. No, no, no. Sorry. No, and look, I know I can only imagine the amount of times in the last 14 years you've been asked these questions, and I understand that, and I do apologize for that. But I was curious. You kind of answered the question because I was going to ask you, like, obviously the pressure, being in this situation for the first time, and we can't help ourselves as humans. Like, if something good might happen, you're foreseeing the outcome of this really good thing happening. I can't help myself on anything.
Yeah.
Very simple things. So just my head just goes miles down the
You
road,
buy a
and
lottery ticket, you're like,
yeah.
I'm buying,
So
I'm buying, I'm buying a chalet, and I'm going to go and live in the French Alps.
exactly, I'm literally buying a yacht this morning. So like, yeah, our mind wanders. So when you're right in that situation, like, of course, the medal comes into your head. Like you're leading. This is incredible. You're potentially gonna, I suppose, reach your dream. But I was just wondering at the time, right at the time, could you feel yourself maybe even sailing a bit differently because just you're trying not to lose something at that point rather than win something? I was just curious.
Yeah, that was my big takeaway from London. Was I was so afraid of losing a medal, and I didn't. When I had this, I should have seen I was in this huge opportunity to win a medal. Like I was only one of four people who could win a medal going into the final day, and on like really close points. So it wasn't even like it was going to be hard. It was like whoever of Mart, Evie, and Lily and myself, whichever order we finished, that was going to be the way the medals were decided. Because I think Mart and Lily were on 33 points, and myself and Evie were on 34 points after the first 10 races. So we were like, it didn't, medal races are double points. So it meant whichever way we finished, it was going to be first, second, third, fourth, was whether we were, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th in the race, or it didn't matter. That was the order that the four of us
Yeah.
crossed the line was going to decide the medals. So it's, yeah, it's this, I'd, I'd, I'd won four races. I had a second and a third that week. I'd basically, of all of us, I'd beaten the other three girls more than they'd beaten me. I just
Wow.
had bad races thrown in there as well, which that was why I had some more points. But
Yeah.
over the course of the regatta, if you'd looked at it in a way of percentages, like I was percentage, like I should have been able to beat them, and but that fear of losing and just took over, and yeah, it's but that,
Very
that,
nice.
that, that that is also probably what made it so exciting.
Yeah. No, look, it's in the history books. Obviously, everything went towards Rio. Was it Dennis O'Brien maybe bought you a boat? And you put everything into that. So you did get your silver medal. Was that the best feeling ever?
Yeah, it was. I think the funny thing was between London and Rio was I was very lucky in London that, well, first of all, it was a really hard time to try and head for the Olympics. Like Ireland had just had like the huge crash. No one had any
Yeah.
money. Um,
Yeah.
Even trying to do an Olympic campaign was extremely challenging, and I was really lucky that a lot of friends, family members of the sailing community helped me out a lot, from anything from €100 to a few thousand euros to help me on that
Wow.
sort of campaign. And it was really nice to have all those supporters for London, but then for Rio, everyone was like, "Oh, sure, Annalise is doing so well now. She'll have no problem getting to, getting she's been funded for everything." But the reality is, like, traveling around the world, going to all these events, everything's really expensive, and
Yeah.
I didn't have enough money to pay for everything. So yeah, I was lucky that Dennis O'Brien, it was through Communicore, sponsored me, so I had News Talk on my sail, um,
Wow.
and bought me a boat and sent it out to Rio, and then helped pay for my campaign for those that lead up into Rio, which was massive, because that's the difference. It's unfortunately at the elite level of sport, when you're competing against countries that have kind of unlimited budgets, or what feel like unlimited budgets compared to what Ireland does, you you, you do need money to be able to go and train and compete and go to these places. So yeah, it was a huge help. And yeah, and then I guess crossing the line in Rio, first of all, the sense of relief I had, and
Yeah.
afterwards, it was really nice. Like, everyone who'd helped me over those sort of previous 8 years, I sent everyone notes saying, thank you, and it's kind of like I felt like I was like, they'd backed a good horse, like sometimes it's like, even people that, a couple of €100 to help me in the London campaign, it was like, you know, it was like that did, all those things, they did help at the end of the day. And it was pretty cool to be able to thank everyone who had sort of believed in me and supported me, because it is a lot of the time, when other people believe in you, that makes a big difference as well. Like, it's one thing you going, oh, I want to go and do this, but when other people see that you're talented and want to help you as well, that's nearly a little confidence booster also.
Incredible. No, it's an incredible moment, and I love that. I love that saying. You back the right horse. Anyone that joins the Sporting Club Ireland, I always tell them you've backed the right horse. So I love it. But no, it was brilliant. It was magical to see. Look, I haven't timed this well at all. I'm just looking. It's like we're 56 minutes in. You've got stuff to do. So, and then there's still Tokyo, the Volvo Ocean Race. So we're probably not going to get into that too much, unless you want to give me a quick sentence on both, because I need to let you go and have a coffee before you go sailing, and your baby wakes, and
I'm
you might need
actually
to
still,
feed your
oh,
14-year-old
right,
Labrador.
she's still asleep.
Uh,
This is
wow.
incredible. I was like, she's gonna be 15 minutes and she'll be back, like, trying to, I don't know, climb down the stairs or something. Um, yeah, I guess so. After when you get an Olympic medal, it kind of opens up a lot of opportunities in sailing, and I had the opportunity to do the Volvo Ocean Race, which was both incredible and incredibly hard.
Yeah.
um I'm not that tough. I'm maybe tough compared to like an average person, but I'm not tough going out and sailing around the world, getting hosed in the face for weeks at a time between cities as you race around the world.
Yeah.
uh, it was, yeah, an amazing experience getting to do it, but also it definitely made me realize, like, I was not suited. I I like going out, sailing my boat, coming back in.
Yeah.
I don't like this going out into open ocean for weeks at a time. I'm not cut out for it.
I wouldn't be either.
Yeah, it's definitely, there's easier ways to travel around the world
Yeah.
than taking 3 weeks at a time to get from city to city. But yeah, when I finished, I was so proud that I hadn't quit, because I did think about quitting multiple times during the race. Um, and yeah, to not give up and to keep on going was probably like my biggest lesson in that race. And then I don't know, I felt like I had unfinished business, and I thought I was fourth in London, I was second in Rio. mm, maybe I'll be first in Tokyo. I don't know. These are stupid things that you tell yourself when you're in sport. Just kind of like, and I really wanted to try and win a gold medal. I was like, maybe am I just I've nearly won a gold medal, but I haven't. Is this the chance where I can try and win one? And then I'm like, I'm like, maybe I was never going to be gold medal material. Um, but yeah, I put everything in Tokyo. I did. COVID definitely didn't help me. But
No.
you can't make excuses either. But I I found I struggled with that extra year and the sort of the, the unknown. Is this the right thing to do? Should I have actually just stopped sailing and got a job and moved on with my life? This kind of like limbo, um,
Yeah.
is hard to know what to do. And um, yeah, I guess Tokyo. I just such so expectations are the worst thing you can have in sport. You know, you
And
can
in life.
in life, yeah.
Yeah.
Expectations. You'll generally be disappointed. And my expectation, I wanted to win a gold medal so badly, but I'd you think you're older and wiser and you've learned all your lessons, but I don't know. You just forget. And I thought that I should have been so well prepared for Tokyo, and then it was like I reverted back to like a 19-year-old self. Like I just not thinking about race by race, focusing completely on the end result. You know, just getting very upset about the fact that the Olympics were about to start. Like just I look back on it now and go, I wish I could have had a different attitude to it, but it's so hard. That's sport. It's why you know the best athletes in the world, like that, look like they're definitely going to win the gold medal, and
Yeah.
completely making a mess of it. Look at the Winter Olympics. Ilya Malin, the figure skate, American figure skate,
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
he was what a quadruple axel or the quad god, like, and everyone
Yeah.
he's gonna win this gold medal with his eyes closed, and then
Yeah.
went out and that is sport though as well.
It is
This
sport.
pressure and expectation and the human mind as well, that it doesn't play ball with what you think you want it to do. Um, and that's in Tokyo. I just my expectations got away from me, and I didn't focus on the important things of the event. And I basically, after the second day, I knew that there was a medal was off the cards. I then sailed a little bit better for the rest of the week. It was nice. I had a first and a second on one of the days, so it was nice to be able to at least win a race there. But yeah, to come away finishing 18th overall, I guess my one takeaway was Anne Marie, my training partner. She did win the gold medal, so at least I knew that I was doing the right stuff in training.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I was
Wow.
like, well, one of us won a gold medal. I was like, one of
Yeah.
us finished 18th, but I was like, um, it's yeah. So I guess you know, I was really happy for her as well. She deserved it, and that's in sport. Yeah, also maybe also makes me think maybe that was why I was never gonna win loads of stuff, because I'll be happy for other people also. But
Yeah.
again, which sorry, you should, if you're going to be one of these serial winners, like you only want to win for yourself and no one else. Well, I generally through my career would have been like happy for other people and being like, oh, that's great, they really deserve that, they worked hard. And
Nice.
my coach would be like, you worked hard too, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, but they did also." So
Wow.
I do also
Yeah.
take away, I think that over my whole career, generally I've been like kind of a nice person, like you know, as much as I can be. Like I've probably had to be ruthless at times, but I don't think I completely changed my personality to be a winner. Like I still felt like I was able to win and be nice, and also just bring people along for the journey, and you know respect everyone who helped me and looked after me. And I think I'm glad that I don't think I'm hoping no one will have bad things to say about me.
Yeah.
I feel that they might be annoyed with some of my performances, but that I think I tried to work hard for the people that helped me.
Wow, that's very fascinating. There's so much in that. First of all, look, you come across as a lovely person, and I believe it when you say you're happy for people, and you probably wanted people to win. Like, obviously, again, I've seen you mainly in interviews, listened to you on podcasts. I saw you up your game, but you come across really, really well, and there's so much that that you said there. It's kind of it's hard to all digest it all. One thing I'll say as well, even when you're a non-elite athlete, and I'm 44, I'm still expecting Andy Farrell to call me. So you never give up on all those dreams, but life does have a way of coming at you. And even when you think you have an elite mindset, it can be challenging, and it is challenged in different ways on a daily basis. And that's why I think, like, everything that you've learned in sport obviously will transfer well into the business world. And now you're on maternity leave, but you're with Sports Key. And how are you enjoying that? And we'll finish pretty soon after you give me that quick answer.
Yeah, I think I always knew that I wanted to sort of find what was going to be next for me after Tokyo, and I went back to college. I did an MBA in Trinity, and I had the best crack over the year. Now it's quite intense doing an MBA. Everyone tells you it's going to be, but it was quite intense. But it was also a lot of fun because I'd never got to
Yeah,
experience that sort of student lifestyle of going out for
yeah.
pints, having a good time. 'Cause I was just so focused from when I was basically 18 years old that I kind of missed out on that crack that you have as a student. So I
Yeah,
fully reverted to student mode, out
yeah.
the pub drinking pints, crawling home, going to lectures,
Wow.
and yeah, and really it was a really beneficial year for me, just like packed loads in, gave me, I guess, a lot of like understanding like everything that I had from sport, but then helping translate it into a business context.
Yeah.
And then after that I spent time trying different jobs, trying to figure out what might be right for me. And I ended up working in Sports Key, which is an Irish software company that sort of specializes in sports facility management, and I'm in an operations role, which I kind of enjoy because it's solving problems and fixing different things all the time, which is actually kind of what you do as an athlete. So
Mm,
yeah, it was like no day was the same, and I was busy all the time, which is what I loved about it. But yeah, then yeah, Juliet, I guess, was born on what, the 18th of December. So I've been on maternity leave since then, and yeah, and it's I have a whole new perspective of life, and I I probably didn't realize how much I was going to love being a mum. Like I was, I really wanted a baby, but I also, it's only when you have them you realize how much you're going to like them.
it's incredible, actually. Incredible.
Even when you're a total pain in the hole.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. No, they are, but it's an incredible, life changing moments.
yeah, life changes. She's, yeah, and oh, she's great. And yeah, and I've loved spending time with her, and she's like my little adventure buddy. We go off on our bike together. She kind of comes everywhere now. She's I don't I bring her everywhere. Like we'll be in restaurants, and like I think it's definitely not for babies, and she's just sitting there like munching away on a bit of whatever food we give so yeah, we're lucky. She's pretty easygoing, and
Brilliant.
yeah, and it's been a good year. We're sort of renovating a house, figuring that out as we go. In one way, having a husband who's a builder is very good because he can help build the house, but then also he's spending all day building other people's houses, so we
Right.
don't have time to build our house. So the joke at the moment is, when will you be into the house? And I say, and he goes, oh, by Christmas. And I'm like, oh, great. And he's like, I just don't know which Christmas. So yeah, so that's I'm starting to think Christmas 26 might be a stretch at this stage.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Okay, so there's a lot going on in your life, and back at work soon. And look, obviously, look, yeah, you could talk to you for probably 3 days, and there's a lot of learnings, and I can see, obviously, you bringing all that into your own business environment. Look, there's such synergy between sport and business. It's why businesses get in people like Annalise Murphy to talk to their teams to create that environment. And I genuinely think, yeah, you have so much to offer along with so many other athletes at elite levels. And, you know, sport can help business, but business can also help sport, is kind of, that's what we're trying to do with why I'm talking to you today with the Sporting Club. And look, we're delighted. We're going to have you October 22nd. We decided to do the National Yacht Club, since it means so much to you. And hopefully we'll have a lot of the Sporting Club members there on the night, and maybe potentially some of the National Yacht Club members. So really looking forward to that. It should be fun. And listen, I've kept you now for way longer than I planned. Michael Meehan, unfortunately, hasn't made it. Still don't know why. But you have been class to chat to. I am not Joe Malloy. I'm an amateur podcaster. But you know what? I just really enjoyed listening to you for that bit of time. And if I can cut myself out later, I'll listen back with great detail. Annalise Murphy, thank you so much. You might wait 30 seconds, by the way. You know how Riverside works,
Oh
just in
yeah,
case.
yeah,
And
thanks for having me on. It's been very enjoyable, and actually, fact that, yeah. We have a
Your
sleepy
baby's
baby for
listening.
the whole time. I'm not like, oh God, she slept for too long. She's going to be an asshole.
It must be how boring I am. But listen, thank you so much. You're a star. Look forward to seeing you on the 22nd of October.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.